Yeah, what would be your top three things that you would want the GM to do?
Me?
Sure. And everybody else.
Number one would be to get a backup just in case, it's like quarterback. Because with the injuries, that's what everything seems to spiral. It fits magic. But I think getting a backup quarterback, because you never know. Shelby. And I draft a linebacker. Those would be my three things.
See, Rich is going to jump all over me, but one of mine would be Justin Simmons.
No, thank you.
Me too. I was just going to say, what about Simmons?
What about him? He's on another team.
I don't get the
What
hate.
do you like about him?
I don't. Yeah.
So I've posted a couple GIFs. I'm good with editing and extracting stuff from film. So I posted a couple GIFs and stuff on Twitter. My issue is I actually was hoping this was going to come on the pod today because I knew if no one else, Glenn was going to hold me to task on all my comments on Simmons, right? So basically where I'm coming from on Simmons is, since we're keeping Fangio, I do not believe Simmons is a good fit for what Fangio likes to do. And with that in mind, I don't think it's worth us keeping Simmons at the price tag he's going to be commanding, because I believe there are better, cheaper options out there that will fill that role for us. Now, on the flip side of that, I hate, I think is an appropriate word, the tackles that I'm seeing from running backs that are just blowing by him, and Simmons' lame little attempts at bringing them down. I'm looking at
Jackson and Simmons do the same thing.
Well, no, but Jackson's issues aren't necessarily his lack of attempt at physicality. Jackson's issues are as a result of poor angles on his tackles. Simmons goes to take the angle that's proper, but then he tries to bring him down with his right hand. And these running backs are so big and they have a lower center of gravity. Like, they're generally between 5'11", maybe 6 foot at the most, and 220 pounds or so. They literally just brush him off, and then Simmons left there, running after them, saying, "Gee, I hope I catch you and bring you down," and it never works. I'm sorry if that's too critical for some people, but that's what I'm seeing.
It's the motion. It's the Baywatch slow-mo that we just...
Well, yeah, it's literally like watching Hasselhoff, except with a shirt on.
I think that best example was his missed tackle against the Jets when he couldn't take down Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold is so fast.
But that's the play that comes to mind while Rich was talking. And first it was Alexander Johnson that missed it, and then it was Simmons that missed it, and Kareem Jackson, I don't know why he didn't even try.
He's third on our team in tackles. He's third on our team behind our starting linebackers, who literally stand in the box and wait for people to tackle.
Yeah.
He's one of my absolute favorites. And he's had
a playmaker.
He's had his team all under Fangio.
Don't look at me. I fight about Locke. I don't fight about Simmons. Don't look at me.
See, and just Glenn, on your point there about Simmons, I am completely decoupling the fact that I think he might be one of the best human beings I've ever seen. So I want to make sure that I'm not going after him as an individual. He is a fantastic human being and deserves absolutely. I want to see him as the Walton Payton Man of the Year. And if you look at my Twitter account, I've retweeted any option I possibly can to try and get more votes for him, because I literally think he's done, an unbelievable job within the community and all his charitable work. But I'm looking at his play on the field, and there are certain elements of it where I just don't think it fits what we need. And I frankly think we can use that money elsewhere on the team to make our defense better, particularly along the interior part of our defensive line.
I was going to say, with a new GM coming in, I don't know if the Broncos are going to be willing to pay him what he wants.
Exactly.
So,
but how much more would it be than he's making now?
He's looking, last I heard, around the $15 million a year mark on the average per year.
Which puts him at what? Number 1, number 2 safety in the league? as far as pay.
So by all statistical categories, if you look at any other metrics other than tackles, he is number 3 or 4 or worse. And then the other things that I'm not able to find in terms of stats are the broken tackles. I don't have like Pro Football Focus or any of these other things that you pay for subscriptions to get kind of the advanced analytics on. But the one thing that I noticed in like the Buffalo game and in the other games that I posted some of those GIFs on is those arm tackles where he just misses and then they just run by him into the end zone. I don't know where those stats are tracked, but like I said, honestly, there's at least one of those a game. You
know, it's also a fun stat. He has you know how many interceptions he has this year?
Right.
5.
You know how many the rest of the team has combined?
Fine.
5.
Do you know how many cornerbacks we have on our injured reserve list?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Well,
High five.
Come on.
I mean, I honestly see Denver moving on from Kareem Jackson unless he takes a friendly pay cut. But Simmons, he's not the greatest in terms of safety and how Rich sees him. But I like what Justin Simmons is, outside of football, just like I feel about other players in the NFL outside of their designated team playing. But I just don't know. Unless the new GM comes in and feels like you do, Rich, where it's like he can find Justin Simmons to be expendable, or they come out and say, well, we can only pay one person, big contract. It's either Shelby Harris or Justin Simmons type of scenario, or they can find a way to reason and pay both. But to be honest with you, I think that Justin Simmons, he didn't live up to the hype that he created from the offseason, basically when he was franchise tagged. And I was on board saying, hey, I always felt that if you're going to go out there and put yourself in a place where, you want to demand more money, you got to go out there and put some tape and say, hey, look, I'm worth the big contract. I put up this many interceptions. I made this many tackles. But I just don't feel that Justin Simmons did good enough to say, here's what I did over the season, pay me money. But to play devil's advocate, he also had to deal with an injured secondary where sometimes he had to be helping out the backups or be in places that he's not used to. So that could be called into consideration in terms of, contract negotiations in the offseason. But me personally, I do hope he comes back. And if he doesn't, then oh well.
And that's
been excellent though. Like in pass pro, Simmons has actually been well above average.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying when we were talking about the Raiders game. Is it's hard to judge the defense for how they played because there's so many players missing. Right. So I mean, we know that Simmons can be, or if not is, a top 3-4 safety in the league. Like we know that he can do that. So it's hard for me to say I want to get rid of Simmons because we don't know how he would have played because of so many injuries that we had. We were struggling there at linebacker for a while because we didn't, once we got rid of Todd Davis, we didn't have a backup plan. Von Miller wasn't there, so we had to figure that out. And then we lost 18,000 cornerbacks, so we weren't sure what was going on there. So the number keeps getting larger every time we talk. So I mean, like I want to judge him for how he played, but then I don't, because if we had a healthy defense, we don't know how good he could have been.
Well, and like Rich was saying, Simmons didn't fit in with Fangio's scheme. And during the beginning of the season, we saw him struggle, and everyone was like, where's he at? Where's Simmons? He's not showing up. And then all of a sudden, he got kind of a vibe, and he started showing up, and he started playing a little bit better, and everyone was like, oh, Simmons is making plays. Here he is. So I think maybe part of that has to do with he was trying to feel his way around what Fangio's scheme was. And I think he did a good job of making that happen. And I think once everybody is healthy and back and playing, I think he can even be better than what he is now.
And the leadership, you can't, that's one thing with a young team is that we need some level of veteran leadership. And we really didn't have that on offense. And with Vaughn out, we were lacking on defense as well. So Simmons did fit that role.